So good morning or good afternoon, depending on your time zone. Thank you for joining us for our special webinar for solar installers, the 10 critical things every solar installer should be doing right now. We plan to cover a lot of good information today that will hopefully help you during this time and to help you prepare for the next steps. I'm Jason Higginson. I'm the Senior Director of Marketing at AP Systems. I've been with AP Systems for 5.5 years now. I've been in the solar industry for 10 years and in power technology for longer than that. On the call with me today is Chris Barrett, our Senior Director of Tech Support. He's been with AP Systems for coming up on 5 years, and before that he was with SolarBridge, and he has extensive experience in semiconductor and power technology. We're both excited to be with you all today. So just a few quick housekeeping things. Please use the chat box for any questions. All questions will be addressed at the end of the webinar. Everyone will be provided with a copy of this PowerPoint as well as a link to the recorded version of this PowerPoint. And that'll just take you to a YouTube video link. And I ask that because we're all working from home, many of us working from home, that you just ignore any noise that you hear in the background. I have children and they love to run, so you may hear some of that in the background. And I have a shared office space as well with my wife, so and she is actively working. So please yeah, forgive the noise if you hear any. And we'll move forward here. So a little quick introduction on AP Systems, who we are. We're a global provider of microinverters and power conversion equipment for the solar PV industry. We were founded in Silicon Valley in 2010. This marks our 10-year anniversary. We have 4 global business units. Our Seattle office is the HQ for our USA business unit. Lyon, France is the HQ for our Europe, Middle East, and Africa business unit. Jiaxing is the HQ for our Asia Pacific business unit, and out of Guadalajara, it's our Mexico, Central, and South America business unit. We have additional offices in Cupertino, California, Sydney, Melbourne, Shanghai, and Rotterdam. A couple quick key facts about AP Systems. We're the #2 solar microinverter supplier worldwide, according to GTM. We're the #1 multi-module microinverter supplier. We have actually close to 1 gigawatt installed worldwide, more than, actually it's now close to 2 million microinverters, serving customers in over 80 countries and over 100,000 installations worldwide. Some third-party financing: Mosaic, Sungage, Dividend, and Y-Green. So let's transition to talk about you. So we're very curious. I'm going to launch a poll here, and the poll is going to ask you how this crisis has affected how much time you are actively working. I want to emphasize this is completely anonymous. I'm going to share the results, but it's going to be aggregate results, so you won't see anyone's name. It'll just show you the percentages of people that are either busy, less busy, half as busy, not working at all. And the only thing I ask is that you be 100% honest in this poll. I see results coming in. So far, about half of you have voted. So if you haven't voted yet, please vote before I close the polling so we can move forward here. We're at 60%, 65, 70. Come on, guys, I know we can do it. Okay, great, getting some good results here. All right, going to close the polling here in 3, 2, 1. All right, now I'm going to share the results so everyone can see. So it looks like our distribution is mostly either in the area of about as busy before the crisis up to half as busy. So it looks like the majority of you are in that range, with about 20% not working at all at this time. And yeah, this is a that 20% is definitely along the lines of what we're seeing across the nation, particularly in the solar industry. And yeah, those of you that that are in that top portion is particularly those that are as busy as you were before the crisis. You are the lucky few. So, but I'm glad you're joining us for this call. There's lots of good information for everyone on this call. So, a couple of things that I just wanted to talk with you about as far as you know, we have good information on this webinar to help everyone at this time, but we want to spend some time talking about those of you who are currently in that less active group, that you can use this as an opportunity to your advantage by focusing in some specific areas. And those include your health, training, organizing areas like your tools in your truck, and taking a close look at your career goals. So, you know, job number one essentially is taking care of yourself. So your health and well-being must be priority number one. So look at this guy. Look how happy he is. Now, you only get that way if you're an AP Systems installer. So I'm kidding. You get that way by taking care of yourself, and it just like what problem areas need to be addressed. You know, think also about preventative measures. You know, getting that back brace or that wrist brace to prevent a problem maybe you've had in the past from resurfacing. Regular exercise, physical therapy if appropriate. Those are important considerations for your health and fitness. Your mental health is also extremely important, and it's a critical part of maintaining that well-being. And one important aspect of that is staying connected with others. So, but not just phone calls, but also seeing somebody's face on a video conference. That can all drastically improve your mood and your well-being. So I also want to talk about training. This is an opportunity. There's lots of free training available. Every major manufacturer of solar equipment has free training available, and much of it is NABCEP, offers some NABCEP credits. This is an opportunity for you to increase the efficiency by which you install and your effectiveness in those installs. So finding out what those key things are that can help prevent truck rolls back to the site, to help streamline the installation so you can do it much faster. And then also in terms of the future, and we'll get a little bit more into this in later slides, but your career skills, uh, education, and essentially investing in yourself for what you want to do in your future. So about the NABCEP credits, so being able to utilize this downtime to complete any credit requirements that you have to maintain your NABCEP certification. You can also go for your first NABCEP certification. Those of you who are professional solar installers that don't have this, it's a great um, certification to have on your belt, um, and or going for an additional certification. They have a variety of them that all that cover different technical aspects, even sales aspects of the solar industry. There's a NABCEP calendar. It's on nabcep.org/events, and you can see all of the available training that confers NABCEP continuing education credits, including that offered by AP Systems. We offer several trainings on that calendar at any given time that confer credits. Um, and Chris, I was hoping that you might be able to chime in here. It's some of the advantages that you've seen from an installer standpoint of having a NABCEP certification.
Oh, it makes a huge difference, actually. So it's actually a great selling point for a lot of homeowners. It's kind of something that you can actually put a badge on. It's kind of similar to going to a car repair shop nowadays, and you see the ASE certified engineer on site. It's a badge of honor. It's something I should be proud of. And a lot of companies today are actually having a lot of their people do it, so they have more and more NABCEP certified installers. So not only the installation process, but also sales process. NABCEP offers all kinds of different credits and different certifications, so different levels. So please take a look and check it out. It's worth your while and worth your time, especially during this this odd time that we're currently living through.
Thanks, Chris. And another thing I do want to mention in regards to the NABCEP certification is many employers will pay for that certification. There's a cost for the exam, and many employers will cover that cost. And at least I know for our techs that we have that are NABCEP certified, there's a pay bump. So it's definitely something to consider for the future, to be able to utilize some of this downtime for just that purpose. Again, that's investing in yourself and investing in your future. Some other trainings that are available are on the Cal SSA community webinar. Now, this is based in California, but you don't have to be from California to be able to take this training. And this is a free community webinar calendar. We post our trainings there as well. But you see training on there by a variety of racking companies, inverter companies, panel manufacturers. It's great, and I highly recommend taking a look at that calendar as well as your local solar association for the state that you're in. Take a look at their calendars and what they have available as far as training. All right, I'm going to hand it off to Chris here to cover the next couple of slides.
Thanks, Jason. Yeah, guys, I just wanted to get together a little bit and just chat about tools and organizing your kind of work life a little bit. I think with this point right now, I'm just going to run through a few things here, but a couple of the key things, the key tools that I use every single day in my work life. I think right now, like I said, it's cleanup time. I'm actually doing that with personal life and professional life right now. So going through and sorting through all of your tools, just kind of laying it out there on the table and kind of looking at what you've got. I know if it's like you, like me, I've got a bunch of different things, different tools just hanging around. They're kind of thrown into a bag or a box. It's actually giving me a chance to kind of clean all that out and get rid of all this old tools, maybe broken tools, junk tools, figuring out what I can repair, what I can replace. I've actually bought a few things on Amazon, which has been great. They deliver it right to me, so I don't have to go out and get them. And also think about some of the things that you're missing. Can make you more efficient. And a couple of the next slides behind here, I'll show you some of the things that I use, like I said, in my day-to-day work that makes my life a lot more easy, efficient. One of the things I was joking here is canvas bags work on the grate and the roof. So this is something I've used for years. Of course, it's a zipper bag, put the tools that you need on there. It doesn't slide off a roof, unless that roof is metal, unfortunately. But it's actually quite nice to have something like that to hold your tools that you just need readily available to you on the roof where you need it. As far as like layering tools, again, this is just logic, right? You're gonna put the tools that you use the most on the top of any of your tool bags, tool boxes, things like that. Next slide, Jason. All right, this one right here, I want to talk about this. This is my best friend on any job site right here. This right here, it doesn't have to be ideal. This is the one that I carry. This is the one I use. It could be any brand you'd like, but this is the one that I have, and I love it. Ideal clamp meter. I gave you the number here, so if you want to look it up, it's on Amazon. You can buy it at just about any supply house. What I love about this particular one, it's the tight sight second LCD display. For the solar industry, this is a must. There's a lot of places or tight spaces where you need to get in and get measurements. This gives you the ability to have a display on the front of the device, like we all have on most of our meters. This also gives you a display on the tail end of the device. So let's say you need to get into a module, clip on a DC lead, you want to check current, super easy to get that under the module and still be able to read that. Both displays are lit, so you can actually light them up. So if it's dark, there's a light button on there as well. So fantastic. This meter right now is also a voltmeter for AC and DC. Most meters are. The most important part about this meter is not only the second display, but it's also a AC and DC current meter. Many of the clamp meters out there today, the ones you buy at Home Depot or Lowe's or even some supply houses, only have AC current meters. This one actually includes the DC current meter, which is absolute must for anybody in the solar industry. Whether you're putting in string inverters or you're putting in microinverters, it's always nice to be able to check the DC lines, check panels with that DC amp meter. And this one actually adds the fourth thing, which is the frequency measurement. Every once in a while, you see some sites where the frequency may be out of whack. This will be able to see and measure it very quickly and easily using the meter. A must for everyone's toolbox. Like I said, it doesn't have to be this brand. This is the one I've used. I've used this for many, many years. And it's a very rugged device. Next slide. This right here, again, is brand agnostic. It doesn't matter which one you have, but this is the one that I own and have used for many, many years. This is an IR infrared thermometer with a laser pointer. So the laser pointer is basically telling you where you are pointing. This right here is a savior. Let's say you're on a roof, you're working some service job, you have a module that's not working, an inverter that's not working, you're trying to locate it. And as we talked about in the second bullet here, we all map our inverters perfectly, right? I question that. I think a lot of times you're trying to look for a module. Maps are good, but every once in a while you may not be able to find, or let's say you're doing service work for someone else's job. You don't have a map, you don't know where a module is. You can actually use this tool. The nice thing about this tool, it's basically a handheld device, can be bought at Home Depot for I think it's 30 bucks, well worth the money. This gives you the ability to walk along the array, pointing it down at the array, basically at the module itself. You don't have to get to the inverter, just the module, and you're going to take a temperature reading across the module as you're walking. Walk down the array, walk back to the other side of the array. What you're looking for is a temperature gradient, temperature difference, basically. As you're walking, you're going to scan the face of the modules, and any of the modules and or inverters that aren't producing power, aren't working, are going to show an elevated temperature. I always put it into Fahrenheit mode because it gives you a little bit more granularity as opposed to Celsius. But the nice thing about it, in a full sun situation, you're going to see 10 to 15 degrees difference in operating temperature. So basically, the ones that are operating and producing power, they are going to be cooler, 10 to 15 degrees cooler. The ones that are not operating or non-functioning will be higher. Great tool again for $30. I think I would give one to every person on the crew, especially for any kind of service work or troubleshooting. Next slide, please. This is another one of those, again, agnostic, doesn't matter what brand you buy. I bought this at Harbor Freight. I think it's 20 bucks. This gives you the ability to have power in cab. So let's say, for example, you get to a house and you don't have power. They don't have external power. Most houses do, but some don't. That was the reason I needed to get this. I was at a job site. We needed to plug in. We needed to actually load up the gateway. And the customer didn't have any external outlets and no one was home. So I said, I can solve this problem very easily. The nice thing about this has been kind of a staple in my tool bag for going forward for now 10 years. I love it because I can charge a laptop. If I have anything I need to charge, boom, plug it in. The phones, the laptops, and it also a USB port. So if you need AC power in your cab, in your truck, at the job site, this is the way to go. They come in many different sizes. If you want to run equipment or tools with it, you probably have to get a bigger inverter. But if you're just running a laptop, a phone, one of our gateways or any of our competitors' gateways, doesn't matter. The current draw is so slow that this would actually accommodate the majority of the light appliances or small appliances. I think my version here is 300 watts, plug into the cigarette lighter. Super easy. Again, this is one of those things I have in my bag. I carry with me everywhere I go. Next slide. Now, as far as organization is concerned, like I said, this is a personal preference. Everyone's got different. Some people have pickup trucks, people have vans, people have toolboxes. There may be a couple different crews with a couple different things. Like I said, we're just talking about here, organized tools by function, racking. Sometimes it's actually better to have redundant tools. The tools for the racking company and the racking tools, also for the inverters or the modules, electrical or internet. I mean, you need all kinds of tools to do a solar job today. It's not just inverters and racking on the roof. It's a lot more than that. So bullet 2, stock up. Don't limit yourself. This is actually a very, very important one as well. I'm not suggesting that you need 15 extra panels and 20 extra inverters, but to have an extra one of everything. I've been on many job sites where they order the exact number of bolts, the exact number of clamps. We're on the roof, and a clamp slides down the roof into a gutter, down a drain pipe, and it's gone. And we have to run somewhere to get either a bolt, clamp, or go back the next day to fix a problem like that. So having extra pieces, like I said, it's critical. I joke with a friend of mine that's a carpenter. I said, do you go to the job site with one hammer or one tape measure or the correct number of 2x4s to build a house? And he laughs and he says, no. And I said, well, that's the solar industry. I said, I get it. It costs us money. Money is parts are money, but time is money as well. So just want to say that that's just if you can do it, if you can have it stocked up properly, best thing you can do is have that, because the last thing you want to be doing is rolling trucks back and forth for a bolt, a clamp, even an inverter or a panel. So just something to think about. As far as speed of accessing the equipment, label the drawers. That just makes sense. I do that with all my stuff. Prioritize frequently used tools. Put it on the back side of the truck, so you don't have to crawl in and out of the truck every single time. And it's just more of an ergonomics thing. You're not stressing your body. You're not going back and forth, cleaning things out. Like I said, I'm a big canvas bag guy. I just find it very convenient. It's easy to look through. You can actually label it with a small. You can actually, some people write marker on it. I put tags on it. I can put a bunch of canvas bags in truck. Everyone can have their own set of tools that they're responsible for. I'm sure that you actually spend time replacing equipment, the lost equipment, but perhaps everyone has their own. They're responsible for their own. That's something to think about as well. And then secure it for transportation. Again, that's just for foam, cardboard, zip ties, ratcheting straps, everything you need to make it a lot easier for the job. Next slide. Jason?
Yeah, so let's talk about your storage and warehousing capability. Some of you are it's just you, and so sometimes your staging is just out of your garage. Some of you have larger operations, and so you have additional space. What is the state of that space right now? How much unused equipment do you still have? Organizing all of that for efficiency, and we want to talk about staging a little bit. Some of our more successful installers are capable of doing 2 or 3 installations in a single day. And part of that is because they have quite the staging operation. A lot of things are pre-fit and pre-configured in this staging area before they leave to the job site. Essentially, having specific equipment that you're using for each job. For example, on the microinverter side, having those microinverters set aside, building your array map in advance, and scanning those microinverters into the ECU. You're able to do that, for example, with AP Systems through our ECU app. But that's just one example. You can do that with mini inverter systems. You can pre-configure. And so utilizing that space, that's a critical part of optimizing your use of storage.
Yeah, like Jason, I'm going to add to that. So, like you said, this is true with a lot of the solar industry in general. But that's one huge advantage. Being able to do all of that pre-configuration right there in your storage area, undercover, out of the sun, dry, before you even get to the site. So when you get to the site and you plug in that gateway, it's ready to go. And all you need to do is find internet for it. No longer do you need to actually add the serial numbers to those devices. Very quick and easy, so a lot more efficient.
So, and part of that is taking a look at what's using up some of your storage space. Perhaps you have some either outdated equipment, some equipment left over from jobs, you know, one-off parts, two-off parts, that are taking up some space. I don't know if many of you know about Energy Bin. They're somebody that they're basically a wholesale business-to-business exchange exclusively for solar, and they have some, like, if you go on there, you see buyers and you see sellers. So it's an opportunity to take some of that outmoded equipment or one or two off parts, and you can put them on Energy Bin, and hopefully be able to move some of that. And it's much better than, you know, a Craigslist or an eBay, because you have people that are specifically looking for solar equipment and they're looking for deals. So some other opportunities that you can do with your pieces and parts. You can offer discount to your employees that are interested in doing solar on their own homes, and you can also donate. You get the tax write-off for any of those donations. So that's another major consideration for moving that outdated equipment. All right, so I want to transition here to talking about career management and career planning. And this is it's an important part of taking some of this this downtime and looking down the road a bit. It's an opportunity to take a breath and look at, you know, what your goals are. You know, what is important to you over the next you know, months and years, and, you know, where you want your career to go. Perhaps that remains within solar, and continuing to do what you're doing, continuing to work for the operations that you're working with, um, or, you know, perhaps that's in, you know, doing some of that investing in yourself, enhancing your skills so that you can do it better. In some cases, you know, this is you know, just a transition step for some of you that are looking to broaden your education, are looking to, you know, yeah, I want to start my own solar business someday, or I want to be promoted within the business that I'm currently working. How do you get to that next step? So in talking about your short and long-term goals, if your goal is to, you know, to look at moving up within your organization, um, you know, increasing your skill set is important. We mentioned the NABCEP certification. That's also helpful. But also, you know, when you move further up in an organization, you're also going to be looking at managing people. And, you know, what kind of skills do you have in that area? If you haven't managed people before, then having some training on how to manage people, how to lead people. So basically, leadership and management training. And there's lots of um, courses available for that online. I encourage you to check those out. If you're looking at an alternative career, like taking a major transition, it's important to take a few steps back and take a look at what your primary goals are down the road. Where do you want to be? And then you can work backward from there on what are the steps that I need to take in order to get there. Does this time right now offer me an opportunity to make a move, and even small steps toward that? And part of any kind of career management, career advancement, is marketing yourself. And so um, I wanted to launch a poll here to ask about LinkedIn profiles, and just to find out who's actively using LinkedIn. So I'm going to launch that poll here. So hopefully you'll see that. So essentially, if you have a LinkedIn profile, answer yes. If you don't have one, answer no. And if you're not exactly sure if you have one or not, yeah, go ahead and hit not sure. Okay, about half of you have voted. So if you haven't voted yet, please go ahead and vote at this time. Okay, gonna close this poll in 3, 2, 1. Okay, now I'm going to share those results. Now it looks like the majority of you, 88%, have a LinkedIn profile. About 12% of you do not. And so I want to emphasize the importance of creating that profile and also maintaining that. So AP Systems is a good example. So when we hire technicians, one of the first areas that we look at is you guys. We look at skilled and experienced installers, those who know how to put in our product, those who know electrical and solar work, and having that in your LinkedIn profile, that's one of the first areas that we go to is LinkedIn. And if you don't have that profile up, we're not going to find you. Other manufacturers aren't going to find you. Other solar companies that are looking to expand aren't going to find you. So that's an important part of building that. And I'm not suggesting that you move on from the company that you're with, particularly if you're happy there and particularly if they're treating you well. But it's just something to keep in mind as you're looking down the road, to invest in yourself, to invest in your own time and marketing, and this LinkedIn profile is hand in hand with that. So I put up here an example of this is a visual career checklist, but I encourage you to do a Google search. There's lots of options available for a career checklist, but essentially what it does is it has you kind of take a look at, and many of us are still figuring out, what do I want to be when I grow up? Do you consider what you're doing now, is that an interim step toward something else that you wanted to do? Did you want to, start your own solar company? Did you want to advance within your current solar company, and run your installation crews? Perhaps you're already doing that and you want to take it up to an even greater step. And what are those goals? What do you think that the ownership of those businesses, or potential investors in a new business would be looking for in you? The qualifications. How are you working towards those qualifications? Identifying those personal, academic, and professional goals, and just taking the small steps that you need in order to move toward those goals. So like I mentioned, around the bend there, you see creating, updating your resume, updating your LinkedIn profile. Again, I am not suggesting you move on from the firm that you are currently at, particularly if you are happy. This is just, I just wanted to throw this out there as just some free advice for you investing in yourself and looking at what your long-term goals are. And I don't think anybody would begrudge you for looking at what you want to be doing over the next 5-10 years, and considering your own personal goals. What training is available? What workshops are available? How can you network? LinkedIn has a tremendous network for you to be able to build out and connect with other companies. I encourage you that, um, for example, Chris goes out to these trainings, and he meets lots of people. And I'd say there's, and I do myself, I'm at the trade shows, very few of them reach out to me on LinkedIn. It's an opportunity for them to build their networks and to continue to expand that network, and stay connected, particularly when there's opportunities. I encourage you to, anytime you meet someone in the industry, and you work with them or you get to know them and what they're about, reach out, make that LinkedIn connection. It's great to have a strong network. Attending career fairs, attending trade events, attending network events. Those are also important. And then around the curve, those are some more, when you get to those next steps, some more action items that are directly related to that, like the interviewing and the research. That's completely up to you. But I just wanted to give you an example of what that career checklist might look like. It's going to be different for everyone, but I just encourage you to give it some thought. So just some of the decision making can seem overwhelming at times. There are many times where I've had a large task and trying to break that up into smaller tasks and work it over time. So I'm not suggesting that you get any of this done in a day. Um, break them up into smaller tasks, 5 to 15 minutes. For example, creating a LinkedIn profile. Step one. So day one, perhaps you log in, you give them your email address, and you create a LinkedIn account. Done. You come back to it a day or two later, and maybe you enter your prior work history. Maybe you just enter, one job, and that takes you 10 minutes. And then, another step is you enter some more of your work history. So taking that large job and breaking it down into these smaller chunks that are easily approachable. Connecting to others in your network, that can be another step as you find people that you've worked with in the past, that you're currently working with. And not just within your company or business, but also, suppliers, customers. Reach out to that network, make those connections. And maybe 2 weeks from now, you jump back into LinkedIn, you've got a fully built out profile, and you start looking at some of the resources. They have LinkedIn Learning. If you sign up for their premium service, there's a LinkedIn Learning aspect, which you enter most anything from, how to use Zoom to, how to do some online marketing to, CRMs to, there's lots of available resources in LinkedIn Learning, and they break it up into series of videos, easily digestible. Highly encourage you to look at that. They also have some career resources that are available if you're interested in that. So I want to spend some time also talking about the importance of supporting our industry and supporting your local community. So, helping out others, this is it's an important part of building that community and being a part of a community. Um, if you have a solicitation for work, perhaps it's some electrical work you're not familiar with or that you don't do, but someone else does. Referring that over to someone else instead of saying, no, I don't do that kind of thing, and just kind of letting it die on the vine. Help someone else um, with that opportunity. So providing someone else with the opportunity to be able to conduct that work and keep their business going. I also highly encourage you to support our industry associations. So our U.S. Solar Industry Association is SEIA. There's also state ones, Cal SSA, the one in Colorado, Missouri, Texas. Just about every state that is hot on solar has its own Solar Industry Association. We got to support those, and I'm not just talking like financial support, because that's kind of difficult for many at this time. But often they send out emails. They're just asking for things like, respond to this survey. Let us know how challenging it is for solar installers right now, because what they do is they take that information and they show policy advisors and politicians. They show them the aggregate information on how many displaced workers or partially employed workers there are in the industry. It helps them drive policy changes that help support our industry. So I highly encourage you to do that. I encourage you to consider signing any petitions that help support the solar industry. Email your public officials if they call upon you to do that and you believe in what they're recommending. And if you are able to, some small financial support. These industry associations are really working on our behalf. They're trying to make sure that the standards in the industry, really help to benefit solar installers. So them working on our behalf is critical, and we need to make sure that they're armed with what they need to in order to do that. Community education. This is another great piece. In fact, I'd like Chris to chime in on this, because you know, utilizing your experience and knowledge in order to be able to help educate those in the community. Chris, would you mind chiming in here?
Sure thing. Yeah, I mean, education is important. That's one thing that we've always tried to do as an industry and as a company, is to go out and visit your local authorities, especially fire departments is a place that I like to go to, educate them on the benefits of solar and the fact that the just safety aspects of solar, if you will. The other place is to actually talk to some of your local inspectors as well, especially during this downtime. You could have a phone conversation with them, and maybe a Zoom meeting with them, to explain a little bit more of the differences between the AC and DC, explain them what's going on, to help educate them on basically the installation and safety of solar in general.
Thanks, Chris. Yeah, and additionally, it's investment back into your community, and yeah, we can only stand to benefit from more of that. So a little bit on video conferencing. If you're not already familiar on how to use and how to run a video conference platform, so right now you're participating in a Zoom call, so you're familiar with how to join a Zoom call, but becoming familiar with how to run your own video conference platform. It's a very important piece for maintaining your business. So not only can you have better communication with your coworkers, your friends, your family. Yes, that is all important. From a business standpoint, it is excellent for sales. It is critical for keeping your customers, your potential customers, in the funnel and in an attempt to get their business. So an example of that is, for example, you sending out an email, hey, free solar 101 webinar, can you benefit from solar, to any leads that you might possibly have. Heck, this could even be just a flyer that you print on a piece of paper, and you know, you leave on you know, in the crack of the screen door. Just being able to promote your business with just some educational information, in order to try to get more of that business, but keeping it really approachable. So no obligation. We're going to answer all of your questions, and making it very easy for people to participate in those. If you're not familiar with how to use one of those video conferencing platforms, if it seems intimidating, there's lots of free learning tools available. You can look at YouTube tutorials. I mentioned the LinkedIn Learning earlier. And also within each of those platforms, they have, you know, videos that walk you through everything. If it's a Zoom call, WebEx, GoToMeeting, if you have a Facebook account, you can also do live streaming from a Facebook account. You can do, you know, if you have a business Facebook account, you can do a live video stream that shows up on your homepage. So there's lots of ways that you can approach that, and highly encourage you to take advantage of those tools. Another thing that I want to mention too, in terms of video conferencing. So if you are an installer, you know, think about it from the standpoint of management. If you are not currently a part of management, and you are looking to differentiate yourself from other installers that are at your firm, someone who knows video conferencing, who can conduct some of those webinars, who can train others, who are reaching out to the community, those who are being active, like you are seen as a step above others. And you know, when things get hard, when times get tough, you know, they are going to be less inclined to change your job position, to change your active employment with that firm, as opposed to others who don't necessarily have the experience in some of these other areas, the NAPCEP certification, familiar with how to do webinars, reaching out to the community. Like, you are seen as someone who invests in themselves, and that gives you a leg up. Sorry, I want to arrange that slide so everything comes up here together. So essentially, some of the ways that AP Systems can help with businesses currently. So some of the advantages, so most of this is based on improving your efficiency, improving your speed, your efficacy, and reducing cost overall. So we do that through a faster installation, a simplified architecture. Basically, our products can be used on the same line. We have a simplified system design, so it can easily scale in capacity, and we reduce stocking costs because we have fewer SKUs. And I'm just going to run through these briefly because this webinar is less about us and more about you. But we did want to throw these things out here as ways in which we are helping at this time. So I mentioned the lower microinverter costs because our microinverters are multi-module microinverters. So there's some shared componentry. So overall, the economies of scale are reduced compared with conventional microinverters. So one dual module microinverter does not cost the same as two competing single module microinverters. We have field upgradability, so we can actually keep our products up to date in the field after they've been installed. We have built-in rapid shutdown compliance, and we have a strong financial foundation, strong financial backing, and untouched warranty reserve, profitable every year for the past 7 years. And finally, these webinars. So we're running these informative webinars with a focus on helping you. Some great AP Systems resources. I encourage you to look at our support page. Kind of gives you a 1, 2, 3. Training is part of that. Step 1, and we've got some great training tools. We got videos that can walk you through every step of the installation. We've got a registration page to get an AP Systems EMA account. We got a product documentation library with all the data sheets, manuals, all the certifications you need on the product, and these webinars. So there's a link there also for where to go for additional webinars. There's some hot links also on our homepage. So right underneath our little slideshow on the front page is a big banner for webinars. It's also at the top of our training page. You can click on either of those. It'll take you to our webinars that we're currently offering for free training. Our YouTube channel is another great resource. Like I said, use some of this downtime to train up on the products that you're currently installing. So our YouTube website, youtube.com/apsystemssolar, and yeah, lots of helpful videos there, including how to do the cabling of our product because it's multi-module cabling. We've got some easy to watch videos that show you exactly how to do that. And like I mentioned, videos on how to do some of the more complex parts, like setting up our ECU, and it shows you actually how simple it is. I do want to do a plug quickly for an upcoming webinar. It's happening in 2 days from now, so Thursday at the same time as this webinar, and it's using microinverters in commercial projects. Chris will be conducting this webinar, and it's really going to cover the benefits and a how-to for how to install in commercial solar projects using multi-module microinverters on commercial rooftops, understanding the benefits of doing that, how to design one of those commercial systems, including 3-phase. We have a true 3-phase product that's plug and play for commercial systems. It turns residential installers instantly into commercial installers. It really simplifies the process for you. We're going to go through some real life applications and examples and understand some of the advantages. So I encourage you to visit our webinar page on our website to register for that. So next, I'd like to spend some time covering some of the available government assistance programs. We're going to talk about the stimulus check, some resources for businesses, and we're going to talk about unemployment, partial employment for those of you that are facing that at this time. First, I do want to cover there are lots of resources available out there, both at a federal and state level, on the impact of the coronavirus. So the government even has, the federal government even has their own website, coronavirus.gov. Highly encourage you to check that out. The one that would more specifically, I think, you would find more benefit from is the benefits.gov site. And right, if you go to that that site, they have a link for coronavirus resources. And that one is more critical for those that have employment, unemployment issues, partial unemployment, or are facing reduced business as a result of the coronavirus. Visit your state's employment security department if you're in if your employment has been affected. And I'm not going to jump into healthcare in any detail here, except to provide some of those resources on how to maintain COBRA if you're on current or partial unemployment, and some access to Medicare and Medicaid resources during the coronavirus. And there's also some assistance programs. There's a variety of assistance programs. So I encourage you to check those out, specific to, for example, disadvantaged individuals or minorities, veterans. So there's and those that are over 65. There's a lot of different assistance programs for lots of different groups. So make sure you check that out. Lots of resources for veterans as well. So if you go to the publichealth.va.gov, there's a link for coronavirus, or you just jot down this, or wait until I send the PDF of this presentation around. It'll be in there for you. So let's talk about the stimulus check. I want to send out a poll on whether or not some of you have received it, or if you're still waiting. And this is specific to, and I should have said this at the beginning of this. It's the primarily for U.S. installers that I'm looking for this the stimulus check poll, and also for a lot of the resources that are available from the government assistance programs, primarily focused in the U.S. So for those of you who are outside of the U.S., this portion of the presentations, not the most applicable, but I encourage you to go to your own country or federal resource websites in order to find out what resources may be available to you at this time. Okay, about half of you have voted. Still waiting just a little bit to get some more of those votes in. All right, closing the polling in 3, 2, 1. I'm going to share the results now. So I see for the stimulus payment, for those of you who are US installers, it's about 50-50. And there's a good portion of you, about 50% of those on this call are outside of the US. So that's not going to apply to you. So I'm going to cover a little bit more about the stimulus check for those of you who have not yet received that. So the payment should be automatic for most taxpayers. It shouldn't be any action needed for those that filed taxes and for most seniors and retirees. But here is a bit of an eye chart, but it basically, if you have not yet received your your stimulus check, this could help you. There are some that, let's see, if you've already filed 2018 or 2019 tax returns, you shouldn't have to do anything, especially if you have the direct deposit there. If you don't have the direct deposit, they're going to have a check mailed to you. If you haven't filed either of those, then you need to file your 2019 tax return. We recommend electronically, so that your stimulus check can be sent via direct deposit. If you don't expect a refund, you can file that 2019 electronically, but they'll mail you a check. There's also a website that you can go to on the IRS website where you can enter your direct deposit information. If you're not required to file a federal income tax return for 2019 or 2018, but you receive benefits like Social Security, disability, SSI, veterans benefits, railroad benefits, the IRS is, they'll direct deposit or they will mail you your stimulus check where you normally receive your benefit. So if you are in one of those situations and you have qualifying children under the age of 17, then you will need to go to the IRS website and use it's called the non-filers enter payment info tool. So you want to click on that and fill that information out in order to be able to claim your additional stimulus based on the number of children you have. Again, that's only if you are not required to file a federal income tax return and you receive benefits. If you're not required to file an income tax return and you don't receive any of those benefits, you still need to go to that site and enter your information, because the IRS won't currently have any information on you. They won't have your address. They won't have the ability to be able to provide you with that stimulus check. So let's take a minute real quick to talk about, again, in the US, the Paycheck Protection Program. I wanted to get into this before we started talking about the employment scenarios, because for many businesses, this is, it's important in order to prevent that unemployment or prevent that partial employment. So what is the Paycheck Protection Program? It's a great question. It's a small business loan from the SBA that helps to keep your business working, keep your employees working during this crisis. It's essentially 8 weeks of pay for your employees, plus an additional 25% of that pay amount for other business expenses like your rent, like utilities. And so just a quick background, they had launched the Paycheck Protection Program and it quickly ran out of money. And so Congress went back and refunded it, and the refund actually became active yesterday. So it is now flush with cash again. So if you have not applied for this and you are a small business, whether it's just you or you have a group of employees that you're supporting, you need to apply for this. Essentially what they do is they give you a loan for 8 weeks. And if you don't change any of your headcount and you don't change any of their pay, you get that loan completely forgiven. In addition to that, the 25% amount on top of that is to help cover some of your business expenses during this time. You can apply through any existing SBA 7A lender. You can apply through any of the major banks, any federally insured credit union. You just want to first, your local bank, the bank that you've been using for your business, first approach them, because they have all of your information on hand, and they would be your greatest channel for doing that. So there are some conditions. It primarily applies to businesses with fewer than 500 employees, but that's typically 500 employees per physical location. I'm pretty sure most solar installation firms will fall into that that category. All employees must be kept on the payroll with no pay changes for 8 weeks. The money is used for payroll, at least 75% of it, and then you can use a portion of it for rent, mortgage, interest, and utilities. One thing I should mention also is that you can get a loan for an even larger amount. And it is, I believe the loan limit is up to $10 million. And I believe it's a 2-year loan with a 1% interest. So if you have additional expenses that you need to cover, it's a great way of being able to borrow money from the government at a very, very low interest rate in order to be able to take advantage of that. As far as the employee pay, it's a limit of $100K on an annualized basis for a given employee. So over the 8 weeks, that's about $15,000 for any one employee. So if you have an employee whose salary comes in at $17,000 over those 8 weeks, that basically means you have to cover anything over that $15,385 amount. Which is definitely an improvement over covering 100% of that amount. So highly encourage you to apply for this. There's a link down below, the SBA.gov funding programs, in order to find out more information. But talk to your lender and see if you can take advantage of that. Spend a little bit of time talking about unemployment, partial unemployment. You need to visit your state's employment security department. It's one thing we found out about through this process is every state's different. Every state is handling it different. They mentioned the $600 additional weekly benefit provided by the federal government. The states are all handling that benefit different. Some are providing 100% of the $600 to anyone on unemployment or partial unemployment to a certain rate. There are some states that are kind of prorating that $600 based on the income of the individual. So your partial unemployment could mean that instead of the full 600, you get less. So make sure that you're checking with your local benefits on how much of that additional federal $600 weekly benefit that you would qualify for. If you have been if you are currently on partial employment, if you haven't already applied for partial unemployment through your state's employment security department, you need to do that as soon as possible. And I believe they can also backdate some of it to a certain extent. If you are a business, look into partial employment work share services for your employees. Because an employee cannot apply for that until the employer has said, yes, we want to participate in a work share or shared work situation. So the employer has to request that. And so I want to talk a little bit more about partial employment, shared work, work share. This allows employers to reduce their employees' hours by up to 50% while the employees can collect partial benefits to replace a portion of those lost wages. So again, the employers have to participate, they have to opt in to the program. And if they're approved for it, they can request a relief of any of the benefit charges. So as of March 27th, the federal government is covering those benefits 100% through the end of the year for all states with shared work programs. And I'm going to put up a slide in a bit to show you all the states that are participating in shared work programs. So the shared work program is for employees who are permanent employees, or they're paid hourly, and they are paid hourly, or you can calculate their salaries at an hourly wage. So if they are salaried employees, don't even worry about that. You simply convert their current salary into an hourly salary, and you provide that when you apply. Claimants on shared work, they don't have to look for other work when they're on shared work. They must be available for all work offered by their regular employer, and employers must continue to pay for their health insurance. So these are all the current US states that are offering work share programs. So if your state is listed here and you have not currently applied for that. So the reason I brought up the Paycheck Protection Program is I brought that up first is because if you do that, you don't have to move to a work share program. So the work share programs is essentially if for some reason you are either not eligible for the Paycheck Protection Program, or the funding either, I don't know, doesn't come through in time, or it because it's 8 weeks, it ends before this crisis ends, and so you're looking at, you know, sometime in July where you have to participate now in a work share because the benefit ended. Perhaps any of those scenarios where you might want to consider looking at a work share program for your company. There's also standby. So standby is similar, where it's not a reduced work. It's not a 50%. It is essentially they are you essentially agree on a date up to for many states it's up to 12 weeks out where the employee would come back to work. So at this time you'd be able to set that for, say, the end of July, and the employee is simply on standby. They're not considered unemployed. They are an employee that is currently not working for your firm. They are an employee of the firm. They are simply not working hours. So it's available for full and part-time employees. And while on standby, you must accept any work that's offered, obviously without breaking isolation or quarantine. And the emergency rules that they have in place have increased the maximum amount of time up to 12 weeks. So depending on your state again. But it's a way that you can collect benefits, unemployment benefits, while retaining your employment with the company. So at the end of that time, so essentially if you set that date for the end of July, for example, when the end of July comes, you are back to the firm with 100% of your pay and benefits and 100% hours and employment. So just in summary, the 10 critical things that we covered today is, of course, number 1, take care of yourself. Number 2, take advantage of any available training. Chris did a great job of covering, you know, the tools, organizing the truck. We talked about optimizing your storage space. Talked about looking down the road and considerations for your career, and improving skills and opportunities there. Supporting your industry and local community. Utilizing tools like video conferencing. A couple words about how AP Systems can help during this time, and then talking about the government assistance programs available. So I wanted to thank everyone for joining us today. And if you have any questions, we're happy to address those. I'm going to go to the chat here. And feel free to send us any of your questions using the chat tool that's in Zoom. You just click on chat, enter the question, and the messages will come right to me. And one of the questions that we received is your company in Africa at this time? Yes, Africa is managed out of our Europe, Middle East, and Africa, our EMEA group that's based out of Lyon, France. We have also offices in Rotterdam, and those two serve that entire area. So if you go to our EMEA website, it's emea.apsystems.com, and there should be more information on there for you and who to talk to. Let's see, any other questions out there? Chris, we're getting a question here on any other helpful solar tools that you are aware of that will help us in installing.
Well, that's a great question. Those are my go-to tools right there, to be quite honest. With that meter, with that DC amp meter is critical piece right there. I have a nice Fluke as well, 2 different brands, but same kind of concept. Probably for troubleshooting, I would say maybe a voltage tickler to be able to basically be able to sense voltage. without a multimeter, just a single device, just kind of get it adjacent to or close to any live line, and be able to tell which one is live, which one is not. I can add that to the presentation before we send it out.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
Awesome. Well, I'm seeing one other question come in. Let's see. Someone asked about site shading tools for assessment/design.
Well, we utilize all different types. PVSYST is probably the one that we work with the most. For most installers use that. We're actually on the Aurora program platform as well, and then moving on and actually adding more programs as we move forward monthly. So that's one of our goals, is to get on more of those programs.
Excellent. I see a question here about someone that has personally faced some issues on the ECU. And one thing I would encourage you to do is we get many calls, and I'm not suggesting this is necessarily the case with your situation, but we get many calls that we've actually sent techs out to the site before to find that there was a step that was missing in the middle of that. And so I encourage you by checking out our training videos, particularly that ECUR training video. And one thing we've done also with our newest line of ECUs is it's a much easier install. They are much more foolproof. They are much more resilient, particularly on the communication side. So highly encourage you guys to utilize those products, to check out the training that's available, and make sure that your team is trained on those too, because missing a step in there could be the difference between having to revisit that site to press one little button or to enter one little serial number. It could mean the difference between having to drive back to the site or not. So highly encourage you to do that. Awesome. Well, I just wanted to say thank you for spending some time with us today. We appreciate your time. And yeah, we want to encourage everyone to give some thought during this downtime to how you can potentially use that to your advantage. And just want to encourage everyone to stay safe out there. So again, thank you for your time, and hope everyone has a great week.
Thanks, everyone.
Take care now.